G'day, it's Rusty and welcome to the channel. In today's video, something a little bit different. I was approached recently by the Waroona Shire to see if I wanted to be involved in creating some metal cutouts for their Noongar 6 Seasons garden that they're building in town. And what this involves is a range of animals that I'm going to be cutting out, and a local artist, Shardah, is going to be painting them. So they'll then be cemented in the ground and they'll be placed throughout the garden in different areas that represent the 6 different seasons. Now these animals are a kangaroo, there's an emu with 2 chicks, a cockatoo, there's a willy wagtail, a magpie, there's a possum that's going on the wall, an echidna, a long-necked turtle, there's a frog, a goanna and a snake. So the cockatoo will be mounted up in a tree because he's actually a flying bird, and the frog is going to be strapped to a tree trunk as well. So we have to work out some banding around that because we can't attach it physically to the tree. The other part of the project that I've got to do with them is a 2-panelled sign that's going to have the season names cut out of it, and then on each of the sections there'll be a vinyl sticker that's got text that explains the different seasons. So we're going to cut this whole lot out of 3mm mild steel plate. So the process is basically, I've got to load the sheet on. Normally I put a sheet on the table, cut it in half and work on half. But some of these designs are actually on the limit of my cut size, which is about 1300 long. So we're going to put a full sheet on, cut the design out, and then worry about the offcut, and then we can use that offcut for a smaller animal. So that's what today's project is about. It's going to take a few days, I guess, to complete the whole thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some metal spikes with some little offsets on them, so the animal can be cemented in the ground. So I'm really looking forward to this project. It's something a little bit different. So I'll start loading some steel on the table and we'll start cutting them out, and I'll show you the designs as we go. Okay, this is the first cutout. This is the kangaroo. I've done it in 2 pieces because it's 1300 high, but the width of it with the tail joined here comes out here at about 1700, and I don't have that room on my table. So we've made the tail in 2 pieces. We've got a little tab cut out, and we'll weld that into the slot. So we are ready to go. The torch is in the top left corner, and we're going to hit this. These are my settings: 2750, 1.5mm cut height, 2.25mm is the pierce height. I've got a 500 millisecond pierce delay and a 25mm float height. One thing I need to do is just test the 0, and I just need to get the 0 in the right spot so that the Z equals 0, so the material software knows where the torch is. Okay, so that's touching, Z equals 0. All right, we're ready to cut this kangaroo. And this is the kangaroo. I mentioned about the tail being in 2 pieces because of the size. What I've done is I've cut the tail with this little tab on half and the recess in the other. So, if I can pick it up, that'll get welded on there. So that's the kangaroo. He's 1300 high and about 1700 wide. Okay, so we're moving on now to cut the emu. And I've just imported him in here, but as you can see, he's 1300 wide and the sheet's only 1200. So we're going to rotate him this way, and that means that he's 905 wide, 1299 long. So from the top corner. So all we've got to do now is set our start point, because the torch will be up in this top corner. So I'm going to set my start point there for the cut. Just make sure it's on the outside. Yep, cut on the outside. Settings the same as yesterday. So we tick the box. And I've just got to tell the torch is there. So this is where the torch is. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Same settings as all the others. We're using the fine cut consumables. We've got cutters at 45 amps. We're using 0 volts, so the torch height control is run by the software. And we've got a 1.3 mil kerf, which is the thickness of the plasma beam coming out of the torch. Okay, so the torch is up in this top corner. Plasma cutter is on, the air is on. Now it's just a matter of we'll hit the start button and away it'll go. So we'll tell the torch it's there. And there's the emu cut out. I'll just pull it off the sheet and we'll have a look at it. And there's the emu, 900 high, 1300 from tip to tail. Now the next item is this possum. Now the possum actually is in 2 pieces, because the way it's going to be mounted, it's sitting on a rail and we're going to have the tail coming as a separate piece. So I'm just going to cut the possum first, and then I'll cut because I've got to move the piece on the steel to get it in the right spot. So, all right, so what I've got to do now is just move the torch and line this up, get ready to cut. So the torch is up in this right corner, top right corner. So now we can hit the start button and cut this one out. And this is the possum's tail. I've just rotated it slightly to make it fit better on the sheet of steel that's still on the table. So we've told it the bottom corner is torch is here, which is this position. So I've zeroed the torch, and we can hit the start button. And the next cutout is this snake. It doesn't look like much of a snake on the outline, but once it's all painted, all the coils of the snake, his eyes, mouth, and all that will all make this look a lot more like a snake than just the cutout does. So anyway, we're ready to cut. We're in this bottom corner here, so we'll cut the snake. All right, so we've got the frog ready to cut. I've zeroed the torch, and let's hit the start button. There, let's hit the start button. So the next 3 birds I've got to cut is this big cockatoo, and it's 1295 by 700 wide. And I've also got this willy wagtail, and I've also got this magpie. So I brought them all in, and I've just moved them around, so I'm sort of best using the plate steel that I've got on the table. This purple line here represents the actual border of the cutting area, so I'm well within it. So I've got all those 3 placed. I'm just going to tick the box and say that's what I want. I now need to move the torch, because the torch doesn't know where it is, where these cutouts are in relation to the red limit box. That's what that is, the limit of the cut area. So I've just got to move the torch. So I'll just do that now and line that up. So I've got the torch in this top left corner. I said the orange dotted line is the actual cutting area, and this lightly grey area is the overall cut area of the 3 cutouts I've got here. So we're well within that. So 800 wide, 1296 high. All right, so we're going to fire the torch up and cut these 3 items out. Well, I've cleaned all the animals, so I just run through them here. There's the kangaroo. I've still got to weld his tail on. The flying cockatoo. There's the emu and her 2 chicks. There's a tree frog, a long-necked turtle, the echidna. This is the possum. Tail's in 2 pieces because it's going to hang under a on the wall where he's fitting is a centerpiece, and it's actually going to hang underneath. So that's the tail separate. There's the magpie, the willy wagtail, and this is the snake. Doesn't look like a lot of snake at the moment, but obviously once Shardah's painted all the coils and the face on it, it'll obviously look a whole lot better. So the only thing we're waiting for now is that they've had a design change for the goanna. So we're still not sure about the sizing for that yet, but once we know that, we'll be able to cut it, the goanna. The other day I had a meeting with the Waroona Shire regarding the goanna, and what we've done is we've changed our mind a little bit about how we're going to mount it on a rock. The rock isn't big enough for the goanna, it's 1300 long. So the angle on the rock face was actually 60 degrees above the horizontal. So what we've decided is that we're going to bend the goanna in half, or bend it. So the top half is sitting at a 60-degree angle to the ground. So basically, this is the top half of the goanna. So if I move that over here, this is the top part of the goanna, and this little tab down the bottom is actually going to be bent at 60 degrees. So what that'll do for us is prop him up basically against the bottom. And this is the bottom piece. So if I input the bottom, you can see now where that piece goes in the bottom. So the bottom half and the tail will actually be sitting on the ground, and the top half, I'll just bring that in, the top half at this point will be bent and then at 60 degrees, and this piece is that little tab fits into the recess in the body, the back half of the body, if you like. So we're going to cut this out in 2 pieces, bend that, and then weld it. So this is the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to cut this top piece, and then we will have the 2 pieces, bend that, and weld it together. And again, they'll be bolted onto the face of the rock, and the tail section will have the 2 spikes in the ground that will be cemented in the ground. So that'll be normal, the same as the others. All right, so let's go ahead and sort this out. And I've just got to align the torch in the right spot, and then we can cut it. So the torch is in this bottom left-hand corner, 3mm sheet of steel on the table. Cut speeds are here as normal for 3mm, and hit the start button. And this is the bottom half of the goanna. Again, the torch is in this bottom corner. We'll cut his body out. That little cut out there is for that tab that joins them together. All right, let's get this going. And this is the 2-piece goanna. Overall is about 1300, and like I said, we just got to clean them up, bend that tab, weld them together. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. Well, this is the goanna. We've bent that this piece here at 60 degrees to match the rock face, and I'll just show you how accurate we got this thing. All right, there's my spirit level. And that's and the rock I think was 60.75. So I'm pretty happy with that angle. So what we need to do now is I'll run a weld around this side and the underside. I've put a slight V on it. I've clamped it all down. So you can imagine that the tail section is on the ground and the head and arms are coming up, leaning up against a rock. So it's going to look really, really cool when this is in situ. So this is how the goanna looks. He's got legs underneath and supports underneath where he's going to be concreted into the ground. We've got that 60-degree angle on him, and that's how he'll fit on the face of the rock and sit in the ground. So really pleased with the way that's turned out. Now I mentioned before that the tree frog and the flying cockatoo are going to actually be mounted in a tree. Now we can't permanently fix the frog to the tree, we can't bolt it in. So what I've done is I've come up with so this is the front of the frog, obviously it'll be painted. Now on the back I've welded this loop, I guess you'd call it, and what I've made is I've made a metal band, and that's what this is. This metal band is designed to fit, I think the circumference was like 1970 mil. So I've made this in two pieces. Ultimately this will be bolted together at back of the tree. This piece, if I can do it properly, this piece will come around to the side, and what I've done is I've allowed two bolt holes here, and I'll put a domed Allen head bolt on the inside, and then I've got a range of adjustment to get this to fit correctly and around the tree. And the other thing, because it's got an open end, we can feed that through this loop that I've made. So if I can sort of hold this, so that's how it will sort of go on the tree. You're seeing the front of the tree, and then this band will be bolted and then bolted there and aligned in place. So that's what we've done to mount the frog. Out of here. And I just thought that was probably an easier way than trying to have, I had to made the band as one piece with these bent ends with a bolt. The problem was, because the tree's so big, you've actually got to bend the hoop out the way, and it was just going to, I thought, nah, this way it gives us some adjustability, and these row of holes give me a little bit of like, just on the safe side. And I guess over time, if the tree grows a bit bigger, they can always back this off and move it. So that's how we've mounted the frog. And I'll show you now what we've done to mount the cockatoo. Now this is the flying cockatoo, and it will be mounted on a horizontal branch about 8-9 feet in the air, and the idea is that it will be sort of hung at an angle, so it should be leaning sort of 45 degrees. And we were going to make the bands like the frog and put them on the wings and put them around the branch, but it was suggested that other things in the past have been hung via some chains. So what I've done on this, so I can just turn this around, is I've welded, so I've made these tabs up out of some 3mm flat with a 12mm hole, and we can put a shackle around there and put a chain around the branch, one either side. And the idea then is we can sort of get it level, because this branch that we're going to use is not quite horizontal, and that will give us a degree of flexibility to get it horizontal. And if you hang it on some chains, sort of thought it might just hang down rather than it wants to be like this, at sort of, you know, at a 45-degree angle up in the air. So we've added this third loop on the bottom. So the idea is I can run a chain from there back up, and then you'll be able to alter the angle of it. So that's how we're going to mount the cockatoo, and the banding arrangement for the frog is probably the best option that we can come up with. Now all the animals have got these metal spikes because they're going to be cemented into the ground, and this is what I've done for the emu. Just because he's a bigger bird, like I said, he's 900 high from the foot to the top of his back there, and he's 1300 wide. So using the 16mm square bar, I've allowed 300 in the ground with this little crossbar to give it some support in the concrete. So I've done that to the emu, and I'll show you what I've done to the kangaroo too. Now, due to the kangaroo's size, it's 1300 high from the feet to the top of his ears, and actually 1700 from the tip of the nose all the way down to the tail. As I mentioned earlier, we actually put a cut through here in the file and made the tail section basically made it two pieces, and then we welded it on. So just to give it some support in the ground, again we've got the rail across the top, we've got one post that comes down through his foot, and again 300mm into the ground. And with this other one, just to give it some support, we've come down the tail, and you can see we've bent the 16mm square bar around to follow the tail, and then the spike in the ground. So that's giving it some strength, and this is by far the biggest one I've made. And yeah, really pleased with the way it's come out. We just got to clean it and put some primer on it now. Now, the second part of this project I'm working on is this 2-panel sign, and the idea of the 2 panels is to represent it represents in total the 6 seasons, and this is the left panel, so it's as wide as the sheet, 12 foot, 1214, and its height is 1299. So that's the maximum I cut on the table. So we got Fouracre, Bunaroo, and Duran. So these letters will be cut out, and this space here is actually going to have a transfer stuck onto it with text describing each of the seasons. And these little tabs here are little tabs to support the panel being bolted to some timber sleepers that'll be in the ground. So we're set. We've got the torch in the top, this top left-hand corner here, and we're ready to go. We're still cutting 3mm using the fine cut setting 45 amps, and these are our cut speed, our cut height, and our pierce height. So we're ready to cut this. And this is the right-hand panel. Again, there's 3 of the 6 seasons, and these 2 panels will butt together. And again, it's just a repeat of the previous one, 1215 wide, 1300 high overall. Torch is up in this top left corner, and now it's just a matter of hit the start button, and now we'll cut this right-hand panel out. And these are the 2 panels of the 6 seasons sign that will be bolted to some big railway sleepers buried in the ground, and there'll be a vinyl on this area here, on this 280mm wide section. There'll be a vinyl sticker on each of each of the 6 sections that will actually have some text about the importance about the importance of the season, and some information about each of the Noongar seasons. So now the last part of these 2-panel sign project I've got to do is I've got to cut these little tabs out, because we just need their anchor tabs to bolt the panel to the timber uprights. I've got 3 tabs already, but I couldn't get a 3rd one in because of the restriction on the sheet. And these are little hinges that we're going to be welding to each half of the 2 panels, just to support it in the center. So we're set up, ready to go. Just a matter now of hit the torch, just a matter now of hitting the start button, and we'll cut these. And these are the two extra tabs I needed, and these are the hinge brackets that I've made, or hinge mounts, that go between the two panels down the centre joiner, just to give it some support. Now, one of the last things before I paint these panels is to fit these, it's sort of like a hinge, and I've got two pieces will be welded this side, and there's a single finger this side. The idea of that is when they mount them, they're going to mount them at a 130-degree angle. Just gives it some support in the middle. And I've got two, one here and one this end. So I've just got to weld them in place, and I'll get on and do that now and show you how it turned out. And that's these hinges welded in place. As I said, there's two of them. There's top and bottom. And that's just to support the panel sections between the timbers that they're going to be bolted to. Maybe it's a bit of overkill, but it just gives it some support. Well, today's a pretty exciting day. As you can see, we've actually got this 2-panel signs being installed in the garden. It's been, after I'd painted it, they've had these vinyl transfers stuck onto them, and there's some text around each of the seasons and what they represent. And behind me in the garden, I'll take you and show you all the animals. They've all been painted. Shardah's done an absolutely fantastic job. She's painted them using a traditional dot painting, and she's used a colour theme that represents the different seasons. And I'll just take you and show you how they look in the garden now they've been installed. Shardah has painted these in the traditional Noongar dot painting, and this is the kangaroo. It's come out really, really well. I'm really pleased with the way that's turned out, as I am with all the others as well. And this is the Echidna. Now the possum is mounted on this back wall. There was a slight change of plan. They're actually going to put a branch, I think they're going to put a branch through here to rest his feet on and cut through the tail there. So they're just waiting for that to get done now. And the magpie. Now this is the willy wagtail. The mounting on the back of that was slightly differently. We put the round bar, and it actually they've drilled 2 holes in this rock, and they fitted in there, so that worked out really well. And this is the long-necked turtle. And this is the serpent sitting along the side of this track here. And the racehorse goanna, remember we had that 60-degree bend in it, so it's sat up against the rock face. Oh, that's worked out perfectly. I really like the way that's turned out. And overhead we've got this flying cockatoo. He's suspended from those 2 branches, and at the back there's a chain just holding his tail up. There's a chain, that chain in the back there, so they can alter the angle of him sitting up on that tree. But yeah, that's really nice. And this is the emu with her 2 chicks. I think they look really cute. Well, I'm sure you'll agree those animals look really nice in the garden, the way it's been presented, the way they've been painted. And I'd really like to express my appreciation to the Waroona Shire for inviting me along to be involved in this project. I'd also like to acknowledge Ben and Casey and Karen for all their work that they did with me, and also to Shardah, the artist who did the painting. It was quite an interesting collaboration, something I hadn't been involved in before, and I certainly hope that that might happen again in the future. So if you liked the video, a thumbs up would be appreciated. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, the subscribe button is down here. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a link in the description below to buy me a coffee. I certainly appreciate all the support I've been getting. If there's something that you don't like and you give it a thumbs down, I'd certainly appreciate you putting in the comments what it was you don't like, because I'm always trying to make better content. This was a great project to be involved in, something that is a bit different for me, but I really enjoyed working on it. And I hope you enjoyed the video too, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.